Hello. In part 1, I set out the background to the census of religious worship carried out in 1851 alongside the decennial population census, with the aim of determining the available provision and the numbers attending. Motivated in part by concern that the Church of England was failing to keep pace with the rapid growth in population, and fears that the working classes were losing touch with organised religion, with a concomitant risk to moral standards. Questionnaires were issued to all places of worship, Anglican churches, Nonconformist and Catholic chapels, Quaker meeting houses and Jewish synagogues, to be completed on Census Day, Sunday the 30th of March 1851, or for Jewish synagogues across the evening of Friday the 28th and Saturday the 29th of March. There were some variations in the schedules for different denominations. In summary, the questions asked were the location of the place of worship, where situate, the date of construction, when erected, whether a separate and entire building or part of a building, whether exclusively a place of worship, the number that could be accommodated, and for the Church of England, how many of those sittings were free as opposed to those in privately rented pews, the number attending morning, afternoon and evening services, and the number of children attending Sunday schools on Census Day, and how this compared with average attendance, plus questions on sources of income, including endowments. Finally, there was a space on the schedule for remarks. Nonconformist ministers, Quaker meeting houses and synagogues were asked to specify denomination and asked if the building they occupied was used exclusively as a place of worship. At the time, many nonconformists met in barns, business premises and back rooms. They were not required to provide information on income. A total of 34,467 completed schedules were returned, around 93% of those issued, despite the Bishop of Winchester, Samuel Wilberforce, using his platform in the House of Lords advising against cooperation. Where there were omissions, the local census officer completed as far as possible, and any remaining gaps were filled using national denominational averages. Some returns contain exact head counts, others an estimate. Allowance was made for those attending more than one service to avoid double counting. There were some motivational issues for which it was difficult to make allowances. For Catholics, attendance at Mass on Sunday, along with holy days of obligation, was a requirement. Live-in domestic servants and workers in estate villages may well have found it prudent to be seen to practice the religion of the family in charge, whatever their private preference. Incidentally, Census Day was also Mothering Sunday, when female live-in servants were traditionally given leave to visit home. There will also have been genuine regular worshippers unavoidably absent on Census Day for a range of reasons. But overall, every effort was taken to ensure a statistically sound process, and the verdict of the Times was that the result may be taken as substantially accurate and trustworthy. In many ways, 1851 was an interesting time for the exercise. Church-going rates were high, and the previous century had seen a change from what was effectively an Anglican monopoly to more of a free market, to apply economic terms to worship, with several different Christian denominations active across most of the country. Returns were collated at the General Register Office, then based at Somerset House, on the banks of the River Thames in London. County-level aggregates were published in 1854. London was given both as a metropolitan area and with figures broken down for inclusion in the county aggregates for Kent, Middlesex and Surrey. The returns are now held by the National Archives. County record offices usually have copies, and several county record societies have published details. The results came as something of a shock for the establishment. Almost 10.9 million attendances were recorded across all services and all places of worship in England and Wales, which was adjusted down to 7.25 million to account for double attendance. With a total population of 17.9 million, this meant that 10.65 million, 59% of the population, did not attend. Even with an estimate of 30% allowed for those with a genuine reason, perhaps having to work, too ill to attend, or looking after babies, it still left a significant proportion who on the face of the evidence were not practicing Christians. And where were most of those people to be found? In the growing industrial towns and cities. In an age of inequality and deep social divides, Horace Mann, a barrister by profession who organised the Ecclesiastical Census, concluded, "A sadly formidable portion of the English people are habitual neglectors of the public ordinances of religion, nor is it difficult to indicate what particular class of the community this portion in the main belongs." There was an even bigger wake-up call for the Church of England. Although the need for change had been acknowledged, and work had begun under the Church Building Act of 1818 to increase provision, there was also a degree of complacency in expecting the census to confirm the Church of England with a majority of adherents. When attendances across all of the denominations were added together, the Church of England, accounting for a little over 48%, was in a minority. One reason the exercise was never repeated. Most members of Parliament were Anglicans. And even if those not attending a Church of England service had tried to do so, many would not have found room. The total number of spaces available revealed a shortfall of more than 1.5 million, almost all in the new industrial urban centres. At county and regional level, there were interesting geographical variations, which I shall explore next time. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click on the notification bell to be informed when the next video is available, or you can click on the rose window over my shoulder.